Welcome to the Sewillow Fabric Christmas Bauble Sew-Along video. The pattern is available from the Sewillow website and also the Etsy store as an instantly downloadable and print-at-home item. Let's get started. You'll need two types of woven fabric. I'm using linen remnants from a local fabric store, matching thread, enough ribbon or twill tape to make 4 hanging loops. Pinking shears are useful but optional, and I use a large blunt knitting needle for turning out shapes. You'll also need some toy stuffing, although I'm using stuffing from an old sofa cushion. Once you've downloaded your pattern, print out your pattern templates by selecting actual size or 100% on your printer settings. Then double check the 5 cm test square box before cutting out your templates. Follow the cutting instructions and pin your templates to the fabric to cut out the correct number of pieces for each template. Take your time to cut out the pieces carefully. For Bauble A, match up 2 pairs of cut pieces from different fabrics with right sides together. Stitch along one curved edge with a 5 mm seam allowance and chain stitch the second set in the same way. Finger press the sewn pairs open and attach a contrasting fabric to one side to make a domed circle of 3 fabrics. Repeat the process with the second set, attaching the leftover piece to the opposite side. Open out the 2 half domes. You can use pinking shears to cut the seam allowances on the curves. Then fold the ribbon in half and baste to the edge of the top of your domed circles, with the loop facing down. Now match up the top and bottom seams of the 2 domed circles. Pin along the curved edges and stitch all the way around, leaving a 3 cm opening. Remember to backstitch at the start and end. You can now turn your bauble right side out. I find using the loop helps. I'll show you how to stuff all the baubles at the end of the video, so stay tuned. For Bauble B, arrange your fabric as shown in the pattern instructions. Then join the opposite fabric pieces with right sides facing and pin them together. Once joined, stitch along the slanted angle edges using your 5 mm seam allowance. Repeat for all the joined pairs using the chain stitching technique. Finger press these pieces flat, then match up 2 pairs with seams slanting in opposite directions. Stitch along one curved edge using the 5 mm seam allowance. Now repeat with the second set. Open the joined pieces and add an opposite slanting piece to one side to make a half dome consisting of 3 pieces. Then repeat with the leftover piece and pair, but add the leftover piece to the opposite side. Fold the cut ribbon in half and baste the edges to the top of one of the domed circles with the loop facing down. As per Bauble A, match up the top and bottom seams of the 2 domed circles, pin along the curved edges and stitch all the way around, but leave a 3 cm opening for turning. Remember to backstitch at the start and at the end. Turn your Bauble B right side out. Keep watching because just like with Bauble A, we'll be stuffing all the baubles together at the end of the video. For Bauble C, with right sides facing, pair up 6 sets of opposite fabric pieces cut from the template. Stitch along one straight edge side using a 5 mm seam allowance. Chain piece all 6 pairs along the same edge, then cut apart the thread chains. Now finger press open and match 2 sets of pairs, right sides facing, and stitch along one straight edge side on both sets and continue to chain stitch the second pair. Open one joined piece and with right sides facing add one more pair of fabric pieces. Stitch along the straight edge side again, creating a total of 6 joined shapes, and then repeat with the remaining pieces. Open one set of 6 shapes, then fold it in half to bring the last 2 unstitched sides together. Stitch to join these edges. When done, repeat with the second piece. Fold the cut ribbon in half and baste the edges to the top of one of the star shapes with a loop facing down. Now with right sides facing, match up the fabrics and edges of the 2 star shapes. Stitch all around the shape, taking care to pivot at the corners. Leave a 3 cm opening for stuffing and turning, and don't forget to backstitch at the start and the end. When done stitching, clip the top of the star points and snip the inner corners, being careful not to cut any of the stitches. To turn your star right side out, use a blunt knitting needle to press the star points outwards. Stay tuned because just like with the others, we'll be stuffing all our baubles together at the end of the video. Now finally for Bauble D, we'll start with the toadstool cap. So with right sides facing, pair up 2 sets of pieces cut from template D1. Stitch along one curved edge with a 5mm seam allowance and chain stitch the second set before cutting apart. Open the joined pieces and add one more piece to each pair, stitching along one curved edge on each set. Now you've got 2 halves of a toadstool cap consisting of 3 pieces each. Fold the cut ribbon in half and baste the edges to the top of one of the toadstool cap halves with the loop facing down. Then with right sides facing, match up the 2 toadstool caps and stitch along the top curved edge. Set the toadstool cap aside. With right sides facing, match up 2 half circles cut from template D2 and stitch along the straight edges, leaving an opening as indicated on the template for stuffing and turning the toadstool cap. Then match and pin the circular opening of the toadstool cap with the outer circle of the joined half circles. Carefully stitch along the pinned edges. You can stitch all the way around this time, no need to leave an opening. Turn the toadstool cap right side out, using the loop to help you, and set it aside for now. With right sides facing, pair up 2 pieces cut from template D3. Stitch along one long edge and repeat with the second pair. Finger press open these 2 sets and match them right sides facing to create the toadstool stem. Stitch around the outer edges, leaving the top straight edge open for stuffing and turning. Turn the toadstool stem right side out and get ready for the baubles to start taking shape. Before stuffing, you can use a blunt knitting needle to gently press out the curves and edges from the inside of the bauble. Then taking small pieces of stuffing at a time, start to stuff the baubles, pressing the stuffing into the seam edges to press them outward. Stuff the baubles a bit more than you think you need to. With the round baubles, take your time to manipulate the stuffing and even roll the baubles around in your hand to create the roundness. For the star bauble or bauble C, you need to press the stuffing into the tips of the star. Once properly stuffed, you can then squeeze the tips of the star to make them a bit more pointy. For the toadstool or bauble D, start by first stuffing the toadstool cap in a similar manner to how you stuff the round baubles. For the stem, add the stuffing from the top, pressing down to the base of the stem. Fill the stem all the way up to the top. It's okay if the stuffing is slightly spilling out of the top. You can now see where the stem and the cap will meet. Time to sew them up. So start by threading a needle for hand sewing. Bring together the open edges on the round baubles and the same for the star. Using the same 5mm seam allowance that you sewed with, use a ladder stitch to sew close the openings, carefully tucking in the seam allowances and stuffing as you sew. Make an end knot and cut your thread, then redistribute the bauble stuffing. The toadstool works a little bit differently. First start by sewing a running stitch around the opening of the toadstool cap. Then use the same thread to hand sew a running stitch around the top opening of the toadstool stem, but gently pulling these two pieces together before continuing that running stitch along the top of the toadstool stem. Then using a ladder stitch, continue to use the same piece of thread to hand sew close the top edge of the toadstool stem to the toadstool cap, tucking the seam allowances and stuffing of the toadstool stem into the opening of the toadstool cap as you sew. Now for the ultimate finishing touch. Don't skip this step, I promise it's worth it. You will need an iron, an oven glove and some starch spray. Spray your baubles with a starch spray. Then, wearing your oven glove, gently iron the seams of the baubles, turning them as you press and roll under the iron. Check on the shape and squeeze the stuffing into position if needed. You will see how much crisper your seam edges are looking already. With a star, try to iron those inner corners to enhance the star shape. You can then also continue to roll your shapes under the iron on your ironing table or board to dry the starch and neaten the seams. You can see how much of a difference this step makes. With the toadstool, you can roll the stem under the iron and also turn the toadstool upside down to press the inside of the toadstool cap as well as the base of the stem. I hope you enjoy making them. I think they make wonderful custom gift sets to give to friends and family. If you found the sew along helpful, please like and subscribe. And you can find more of my sewing patterns on the Sewillow website.